Line 22, compensation shall be due. A, if the property is sold or leased by broker or through any other person including seller on the above terms or any other price and terms acceptable to seller during the above time period or any extension of said time period. B, what I'm describing here is compensation shall be under the following terms. A was 1, this is B. And compensation is your commission. If the property is transferred, conveyed, leased, rented, or made unmarketable by a voluntary act of the seller without the consent of the broker during the time period or any extension of said time period. That goes back to compensation will still be due, Mr. Seller, if I do my job and then you sabotage the transaction. C, if within blank calendar days of the final termination, including extension of this agreement, the property is sold, conveyed, or otherwise transferred to anyone with whom the broker has had negotiations or to whom the property was shown prior to the final termination. So again, it's referencing compensation shall be due if within blank days. So what you put in here is you put 18, 30, what do you normally put in there?
I put 60.
60, okay. What is this protecting you as the agent, Galindo Group Real Estate, Josh Galindo as the broker, from? Is that a buyer walks in and builds a beautiful conversation and rapport with your seller because your seller's home for the showing. And they sneak off into the back room and they go, hey, listen, I don't want to pay commissions. So I'm going to fire my buyer's agent and you fire your listing agent, and then we'll reconnect as soon as we both confirm we fired them, and I'll just buy it direct from you. Okay, it prevents that. So you have to provide a list of to anyone with whom the broker has had negotiations or to whom the property was shown prior to the final termination to your client, saying that if you sell to any of these people within this blank amount of time, you will still owe me compensation. Compensation shall be due. Okay, so that's what that means. Now I've learned this one personally in a lawsuit actually. This section C shall not apply if seller enters into a valid brokerage listing agreement with another licensed real estate broker after the final termination of this exclusive brokerage listing agreement. What does that mean? You couldn't get the job done, Josh. Our agreement has expired. You're done. I wouldn't have to say you're fired because it's expired. Same thing. If it expired and they don't renew, they fired you. And then I'm going to go and hire Matt because I think he can get the job done. You don't get to go back to them now. Even if a buyer that you had shown the property to the day before the listing expired, you don't get to go back and go, you owe me money. That's what this section says. I'm going to read one more time. This section C shall not apply, meaning compensation will not be due if seller enters into a valid brokerage listing agreement with another licensed real estate broker after the final termination of the exclusive brokerage listing agreement. A lot of agents get confused there. They think, oh, I'm going to chase them down for the commission because they went under contract right away after they fired me. No, doesn't apply if they do that. Okay, D, compensation shall be due in the event of an exchange. Permission is hereby given to the broker to request such parties as broker may deem appropriate and collect compensation from them, provided there is a full disclosure to all parties. I don't know. I'd have to read that multiple times. If completion of a sale is prevented by default of the seller or the refusal of seller to accept an offer in accordance with the price and terms of this agreement, then upon event, broker is authorized to take any action reasonably necessary to collect said commission. What does that mean? That's why it's important when you fill out page 1 to get your listing price correct. If you put $400,000 here, you now have a duty to bring $400,000 to your client from a bona fide buyer. If you do that, you've technically fulfilled your duty under this listing agreement, okay? If they choose not to accept this, obviously this is not a road you want to go down. You just take your L and move on. But if they don't want to accept that $400,000 offer, technically, compensation shall be due, okay? To accept an offer in accordance with the price and terms of this agreement. Then upon event, broker is authorized to take any action reasonably necessary to collect said commission. If completion of sale is prevented by a party to the transaction other than the seller, so buyer defaults, house burns down, whatever, broker may collect its commission only if and when seller collects damages by suit or otherwise, and then in an amount not less than 1/2 of the damages recovered. Interesting. But not to exceed the above compensation after first deducting title expenses, escrow expenses, and the expenses of collections, if any. E. Seller hereby irrevocably assigns to broker the funds and proceeds of seller in escrow equal to the above compensation. What does that mean? The proceeds due to seller, they are assigning the right to the equal amount of the commission from their proceeds. That is what this agreement says. It's a very powerful clause, actually. I'm going to read it again. Seller hereby irrevocably assigns to broker, Galena Group Real Estate, the funds and proceeds of seller, that's a strong statement, but it's capped here, in escrow, equal to the above compensation. So if your commission's 10 and their proceeds are 100 grand, they are assigning their rights to the broker for $10,000 from their $100,000 in proceeds. In the event any sum of money due under this agreement remains unpaid for a period of 30 days, such sum shall bear interest at the rate of, I put in here 18% per annum from the due date until paid. What do you put in there?
I put 10%.
You? Okay. So basically, if they withhold your money, and this has happened to me with the seller, and it was a lot of money. I think it was like $65,000 worth of commissions. He withheld, he jammed up the deal, and I had to pursue legal action. I won, and when I won, he had to write me a check for my commission plus legal expenses plus the 18% that I put in there. So it's getting paid on the money that you have not received.